The transform has three different parts. You have your location, your rotation, and scale. Rotation is the second one. It determines how an object is oriented in three-dimensional space. The actual methods are using something called Euler angles or quaternion values. We don't have to worry about that because the engine will translate these into degrees for us. Now, when you're rotating, let's rotate around X. Remember, X is forward. So if you're looking forward and you put your hand out in front of you, when you rotate around X, you're turning it around X. So it'll spin. When you rotate around Y, again, take your left hand out and stick your thumb out to the side. When we rotate around Y, you're flapping your hand up and down, and it'll spin like that. And when you rotate around Z, again, with your hand out in front of you flat, imagine an arrow sticking out the top of your hand. When you rotate around Z, it's turning like that. These values are called pitch, roll, and yaw in Unreal, which are aviation terms. One thing that I found really helpful is called the left-hand rule. Unreal follows the left-hand X forward rule. This is a standard thing in working with 3D. This shows the positive directions of each axis. So here we have my hand, and I'm taking my hand and forming it into this pattern where my thumb's out to the side, my pointer finger is pointing up, and my middle finger is pointing forward on specifically the left hand. Right, so closed fist, thumb out the side, finger up, then finger forward. This shows the positive directions of each axis. All right, so positive X is that way, positive Y is where the thumb is, and then positive Z is pointing up. Now, when you're rotating using this left hand rule, right, when you rotate around Z, so you take your pointer finger, keep that still, and then rotate and spin your hand like that. And you can see that values change on X and Y. When you rotate around Z, the X and Y forward changes. In something called local space, which we'll talk about a little bit later, the forward direction will actually change as well. So world space refers to global coordinates of the scene. So in the world, think of it in the room that you're in. Local space is relative to the parent object. So think of it like you're in the classroom right now. The front of the room is the forward direction for the world, but you could turn around. Your forward is something else. This is going to be important when we kind of get into programming some behaviors. It's going to take a little while to kind of wrap your head around, but it's intuitive once you kind of grasp what we're talking about, once you get there. The world space is the overall world, and the forward for that will never change. But your forward might change as you rotate. Right? So here we have Shark Dude. We have X is forward, Z is up, and positive Y is to the right. Up is always up. This is world space. Up is always up. Down is always down. Right? If you rotate around Y, did up change? No. Up is still up. You're laying on the ground now. The shark guy is laying on the ground. Up is still up in world space. Down is still down, regardless of where you're looking. But for him, it does change. In local space, his forward is where he's looking. Right? So top of the head is up right now. Right? So top is aligned with world up. Lay down on the ground. Forward is now pointing up. Because my forward, where I'm looking in local space, has changed. So my up, or the top of my head rather, is pointed in a different direction from world. and so is my forward. This is by rotating around Y, right? My personal sense of up and top has changed, even if the world's up, it didn't. Up in the world is still up. But if you lay down on the ground, your up is something different. Now, in Unreal, we can switch between world and local space. We don't want to mess with it. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone. But you hit that button, it will change your world and local settings. It's only relevant when you're programming it. Let's not get too bogged down in it right now, but just know that if you're trying to place something in front of each other, in front of something else rather, you do have to pay attention to that world or local space. So back in Unreal, I'm back in my scene that has all those cubes. I want to shift over to the side a little bit. Actually, let's do this instead. I'm going to select my first cube, hold down Shift, then select my other cubes in the outliner. Now all of these are selected. I'm going to take all these and just move them off to the side. I want to keep them there, but I don't want them to be in the origin. And I'm actually going to take this here, the little controller icon that's there, the player start. I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag this behind and back. I'll talk about what this is later, but I just wanted to get it out of the way of what we're talking about. I'm going to create an object, shape. I'm going to add in a sphere. The sphere, I'm going to set the location to be 0, 0, 0. This is the origin. I'm going to give this a material. I'm going to give this material so we can see it pretty clearly. And I'll do this ground grass. So this is our origin here. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in a shape cone. I'm going to set this to the origin and then rise it up so it's floating above it. Right now, this cone, if you assume the tip here it's forward, is like the front of a spaceship or a rocket ship, whatever, it's now pointing up. We rotate it, switch the rotation tool. I'm going to grab the Y. I want to face forward. So for it to face forward along the X, I actually need to grab the Y and rotate it like that. And I can rotate it by 90 degrees. Now forward, like the spaceship rather, is pointing forward. If I switch back to the movement, to the translate gizmo, I can see the tip of the cone is pointed along the world X. I'm going to switch back to the rotation tool, and I'm going to point it to the right instead. I'm going to drag this and rotate it to the right. So now it's pointing to positive Y. I can see that's pointing in that direction now with the gizmo Y. So just made the gizmo bigger really quick. I want to take this and I'm going to switch to world space. Switch to space. Right now it's on world. I'm going to switch it to local. And you can see that the gizmo changed. X is now pointed down. Y is to the side over here, and Z is pointed that way. That's because in the local space, the tip was the cone was pointed up. If I switch back to world space, you see it changes back, though the colors might be a little hard to see in the video. All right, so your challenge that I had for you is I want you to take cones and place them pointed in 5 different directions around the origin. So set the location of these to 0, 100, and I guess let's do 150. 150 on the Z, so 0, 100, 150 for this first one. I want you to create new cones and have them point in 4 directions: right, forward, left, and back, and then one pointed up. And position them so they're lined up. And they should actually line up with the origin as well. I will show you how to do that in just a moment, but try it yourself first. first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the material for this first cone to something else. I'm going to go to shapes, cone, set the position to be 0. I'll do -100 and then 150. I'm going to rotate it so it's pointing in the opposite direction. So I'm going to rotate it around the X. So I could do it this way, but I'm going to choose to do it through the transform component. I'm going to rotate around the X to 90 degrees. So, nope, not 90, -90. Yeah, or we can do 270. Either way works. Now that's pointed in the opposite direction. I'm going to give this a different material. There we go. I now am going to Control-C, Control-V. Now I have another cone. I'll take this and I'm going to drag this duplicated cone back. I'm going to rotate this so it's pointing forward. I'm going to rotate around Z this time by 90. There we go. That's now pointed in the right direction, but I want to move this forward so it is right there in the middle. You can see as I'm positioning this, by the way, that I'm changing my view multiple times. Really, I should just go to perspective, top view, and do it this way. And then I'm going to duplicate, I'm going to set the material for this one to something else. Then I will Control-C, Control-V. Now I have another one. Take this, drag it backwards. I'm going to change the rotation for this to be, also always set this back to 0. So there we go. And I want to rotate around the Y by 90. Now you notice that I'm rotating these in different ways along different axes. The cleaner way to do this would be to instead take this first one and then rotate it just around the Y by -90. That way I'm just rotating them only by 90 instead of the weird thing that I did earlier. So I'll rotate this one around 90 by along the X. But ultimately it does the same thing for us for our purposes. Then finally, for this one, I'm going to just create a new shape, cone, location of 0, 0, 0. Bring this up so it's above. Like that. And that's the material to something else. And then that's it. There we go. We have cones pointed in all different directions. All right, go ahead and take a screenshot that shows all of your cones in the outliner, that I can see the different cones pointed in the different directions. And that'll be it for this one. Thanks.